Well, let's see. Flip Wilson, Richard Pryor, and who else would fit into that trio? Tim Conway, of course. Oh boy. I remember I probably did about a dozen of the Flip Wilson shows, and Flip was the kind of guy who he always knew like the humor was coming and was enjoying it more than the audience practically, because he knew what was going to happen. He knew the audience was going to laugh and everything. So he was always kind of had that silly smirk on his face that he knew the explosion of laughter was going to be there. And sometimes he enjoyed it as much as the audience with that. He just let himself go. He was a wonderful, wonderful guy to work with. He was so friendly. Didn't bother you. You came in, you read the script a couple of times, tried to memorize it or do whatever you wished, did the sketch, and moved on. He was a great communicator with an audience. I mean, just when he walked out, you could tell by his walk that he enjoyed being there, the talk he enjoyed being there. He loved an audience. He loved to entertain, and he was sensational. And Richard is probably the funniest guy, really, that I ever met. When he was not on stage, he was equally as funny with just people sitting around a room. And so you put these two guys together, and you have a pretty funny situation. I was kind of like the third musketeer. You know, you guys need somebody else to ride along here? I'd be more than happy to do that. I enjoyed doing the Flip show very much, though, because it was always a week of very relaxed atmosphere, and sometimes people would come to rehearsal. Sometimes they wouldn't. You know, it didn't really matter. It was kind of like the Burnett show. It had the freedom to do with the material, whatever you wanted to do. And Flip was very generous in those areas. You know, a lot of stars, if something funny comes up during rehearsal, they end up doing it on the show. But with Flip, you know, if it's funny, do it, and let's all enjoy it. So great memories with him, and I'm looking forward to seeing these. I have a couple other memories of Flip and some photos from the show, which I'd like to show you. If you have time to drop in on a website, I have a computer. I don't have it on because I don't know how to turn it on. But they tell me that there is a website there, timconwaylive.com. I don't know what all of that means, but I'm sure that the dot is important and the com is important, because they said make sure that you say the dot and the com. And I'd probably be talking a little bit about Flip there too. Thank you for joining us.
The Flip Wilson Show. And here's Flip.
Thanks, y'all. I can't tell you how much I appreciate that fine ovation. Because I was in the dressing room a minute ago looking in the mirror at myself. I said, wow, you know, this is really a sharp outfit, you know. And really, because I said a long time ago, I said to the staff, I said, look, y'all, why don't I wear tuxes on the show? It adds so much more distinction to the show. People say, wow, that show got class, you know. And then they start explaining to me about the budget, you know. And NBC saying that once the show had gotten off the ground, they'd give us a raise and we could get tux. And last week we got a call from NBC and they said they're gonna lay some of the money on us now. So we got the tux and feel good too, you know? Look at this shine. Yeah, I've been 2 nights I sat up in the dressing room putting that shine on there. I feel good, you know. In fact, gonna be a lot of people on the show with tuxes tonight. Tonight we got what they call the creme de la creme of show business. Yes. You know, like, this costs money. And with a show like this, you gotta be concerned with the economics. We're all concerned with the economics. And one of the most important things is home economics. You know, how the budget's going around the house. In fact, that's what I wanted to speak to you about. Fellow was having a problem with his budget around the house. Well, it was no great expense because he and his wife didn't have any kids, just him and his old lady, and they were living there getting along fine. And then her mother-in-law started coming by his mother-in-law started coming by for annual visits. It was her mother. He hadn't known until after he met her. And things are going fine, and then one day they knock at the door, they go to the door, they open, and there's her mother. And she got 6 pieces of luggage with her. And she says she's only gonna stay a week. That's what she told him. I don't know what her and the daughter had discussed. But anyway, it was a month and a half later, and she was still there. So we gotta get your mother out of here, because she's eating like a horse. You know, and she smashed the car and been running up things on my credit cards. You know, bills was shooting up there. So she said, well, how are we gonna get rid of her? He said, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll start an argument at the dinner table tonight. So we'll start an argument, and you and I have a very heated thing going there, and whichever side she's take, if she take your side, then tomorrow you ask her to leave because it's, you know, out of respect to your husband. If she takes my side, then I'll tell her she got to leave out of respect to you. That way, either way, we get rid of her. So that evening, they're sitting there at the dinner table, and the wife accidentally dropped a pot of hot coffee on his lap. I mean, he don't want the mother-in-law to think they were jiving. He wanted to let her know they were serious. Said, hot coffee? I mean, she said, you are the most clumsy klutz I've ever met in my life. You know that? Now, let me deviate from the story a moment to say that if you're not aware of klutz, there will be an asterisk at the end of the show with a definition of what a klutz is. But keep klutz in mind, because that got a lot to do with the story. So she said, who are you calling a clumsy klutz? He said, you are. He said, you're the sloppiest, stupidest thing. I said, I don't know why I ever got this involved with you. She said, you know why you got this big hassle, long thing, just on and on and on. Klutzing all over the kitchen. They argued about 30 minutes. Then he said to her mother, he said, whose side are you on? And the mother said, I'm not taking sides. She said, because I intend to stay here at least another 2 months.